Well, this is the second meeting he's had with his peer leaders in a month. There was the G7 meeting in Canada, which he left to go to Singapore and then promptly refused to sign the communique that he'd negotiated with the G7 partners. Here we are less than a month later. He's met with the NATO allies, he's met with the EU allies, and he's managed to overturn the rules and overturn the procedures each time.
It's interesting. I was listening to a former NATO ambassador for the United States, Nicholas Burns, and he was saying actually he should go in and applaud these countries because they are. Many of them are meeting this 2% threshold. But instead he went in and flogged them and said, I want 4%. Give me your take on that.
Burden sharing has been something that the U.S. has been looking for from allies for many years. We do carry a great deal of the costs of defense of the Western world. Presidents before Donald Trump have sought to increase the burden sharing by our allies, but nobody has done it at the expense of the relationships with our allies as President Trump has done. He inherited a situation where all the NATO allies had agreed by 2024 they would get up to 2%. He's now telling them, well, you have to reach 2% now, and maybe I'll even make it 4%. Accelerating those payments from them is not going to make a material difference to the United States in terms of our own defense, but it puts enormous strains on the relationship.
What's the residual impact of this long term? Because it is kind of in your face towards allies in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, there's no question that it's tremendously damaging to U.S. relations around the world. The United States helped build a world after World War II that was run in coordination with multilateral institutions like the UN, the World Bank, the IMF, what became the World Trade Organization. We decided we would subject ourselves to a rules-based system where we would be no greater than any of our allies. We would throw our lot in together with our allies. In the years since the war, we've expanded that from military relationships to trading and commercial relationships with the WTO, China's accession to the WTO, bringing in the major trading countries into that rules-based system, designed, yes, for our benefit in the long run, because we benefit from a world at peace that follows rules. What Trump is doing is moving from a rules-based order to a Trump-based order, where he sets the rules, other countries must play by his rules, and that is terribly destabilizing.
Give me your take on what this does with the relationship with Germany, his accusations about Germany and Russia.
Well, relations with Germany have been going downhill ever since Donald Trump became president. And by seizing on Germany in particular, by pointing to them as a particular villain in this, Trump is tearing apart that very notion that the United States is best off when we have a Europe that is united, that is whole, and that is drawn together by common interests. He's picking out Germany, and that can be terribly dangerous.
There were a lot of preview pieces before the summit with allies concerned that it would play out in a way that we're seeing it play out, that he'd be combative and kind of in your face, but then would go and have the meeting with Putin and that things would go well with Putin. We've seen half of it. Your take, is it going to play out like a lot of people are predicting, do you think?
I'm worried that it will. And there's one other factor you haven't mentioned, which is that last weekend the negotiations with North Korea seemed once again to go in the wrong direction. If President Trump sees one of his signature negotiations with North Korea abruptly going in the wrong direction, he may feel even more of pressure internally to appear like a deal maker with Vladimir Putin. And surely the worry is that he will do so on Putin's terms and not on America's terms.
Nelson Cunningham, thanks so much.
Thank you.